clothes cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mill. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly, but I ain't Lauren Hill. I'm a Beantown boy with a Trigger City mind state. Leaving hoes surprised like they going on a blind date. Had that ass spinning, best believe that booty gyrate. Come fresh to the game, so y'all lanes better migrate. Versatile cat, so I flow on the South Beat. Spit so hard I fuck around and hurt my teeth. My vision stays clear, why y'all looking cloudy? Yeah, I spit fire, but misses don't doubt me. Jumping hard on tracks, call me steroided rabbit. Consistently murdering beats like a serial killer's habit. Chop his flow, so I took the game and stabbed it. Copy my style, but it's too hot for you to grab. I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
Well, this is how we roll. As I take another pull from my Cohiba, overlooking green fields full of reefer. My suit stay let it sow on my cufflinks. Similar to Jay-Z and Puffy. I ain't saying that I wanna be like them. I'm getting fat stacks while your paper so thin. Look within the eyes of a hustler. I need me a mansion so I can buy a butler. This is a classic, so put me in the classified. I mix a fire so she suck me like a pacifier. Old school Chevrolet, riding up the interstate. Bitches give me crazy, little niggas want a hard hit. Pussy niggas try me and you gon' get a scar face. Ain't no way I'm getting caught, that's gon' be a hard case. That baby girl, my 38, my trigger finger fornicate. Shoot you niggas in the face, you gon' see a pretty
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll. Since a youngin', I knew I had the flow to succeed. Always kept my nose high, like trying to stop the bleed. Kept running, there was nothing in my way to impede. So ahead, it's safe to say there's no one after me. But I'm trying to rise up while you bathroom bitches sink. Hot like I'm in me, my aroma doesn't stink. Kept my eyes wide open while the blind bitches blink. Not one to have regrets, but my mind always thinks. I never gave a fuck at what them lames ever thought of me. Just kept doing what I do, cause that's just how it ought to be. Money on my mind, you can call it moneyology. You getting it out the ass, but I ain't talking side of me. Denver Bronco money, cause it just stays mile high. Whopper junior bitches, I don't beef with small fry. Little fingers on the side, cause you can't be this fly. Tell me to keep my bread up.
So I threw my money in the sky.
Sandstorm. Hey, wall. Classico, I see you. Hey. That's how we roll.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Townie Sports Podcast. I am your host alongside my main man, Vic. Vic, how you doing? How was your weekend, bro?
I think it was good. How was your weekend, Sammy?
It was pretty chill. Ran a 5K. It was fun. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of it. Did a little bit more research on all things sports and played a lot of MLB The Show.
Incredible game. I just cannot say enough how much that game has meant to me since Warzone has just been overtaken by hackers. It's been nice to be able to fall back on something as wonderful as MLB The Show. If you aren't playing it yet, you should be playing it now. And no, they're not paying me to say that.
They're not. They're just giving us free cards, and then we just love it so much. So essentially, It's just taking our time up.
Absolutely.
But yeah, great show today. Probably a little bit of a shorter show and a nice loose show for everybody. We know we got the NFL coming up in about 4 weeks now, I think. We got large preseason games this week. I don't really want to get too much into preseason. Maybe next week we can touch on what we saw from some of the other preseason games. But as far as previews go, I'm going to start off pretty much with the AFC. I mean, it turned out a coincidence, and we're going to start with the AFC East, work our way to the AFC North. And then just kind of go team by team, kind of talk about things that we like about each of the teams, and then maybe give the people some hot takes at the end.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm ready to move forward and get started on our AFC East, which we know so well.
All right, yeah, let's dive right into it. So we got the AFC East. I don't know. What do you want to start off with? You want to start off with the Bills? You want to start off with the Patriots? How do you want to start this off?
No, yeah, let's start alphabetical order the way you have it. Let's go with Bills.
Yeah, just for the sake of ease and for organization, just started off with in alphabetical order. So first we got the Buffalo Bills. Some key additions they had over the offseason. Emmanuel Sanders, Matt Breida, Greg Russo was a draft pick, and Boogie Basham, another draft pick. Russo, obviously Miami defensive end, and Basham was a Wake Forest defensive end. They added a little bit of depth at some key positions. I don't know if I'm saying this name right. Ife Obada, defensive end, Bobby Hart, offensive tackle, and then Tyrell Adams at linebacker. So based on kind of those names and what you saw last season from the Bills, and then what you see what they did so far, what do you think about some of these free agent additions and what the Bills can do?
Well, I mean, just based on their additions alone, it shows you that they were a team that was definitely weaker against the run than they were against the pass on the defensive end of the ball. And the Buffalo defense may have been overrated going into last season. I remember everybody talking them up as a sleeper to be, a top 5 defense in fantasy last year. And obviously that didn't pan out the way we thought it would. But again, I think they're a young team that continues to get stronger. And on the Emmanuel Sanders side of things, that's definitely adding depth there to that wide receiver position. They also have, of course, Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, and other receivers there, including Gabe Davis, a former UCF player. But on top of that, so let's see what they're adding when they're adding Emmanuel Sanders. They're adding a professional, right? He's 34 years old going into the season. He averaged one of the best catch percentages of his career last year with 74.4%. And yards per game, he averaged around 50, which is great. It's not terrible. But the good thing that you're getting when you're getting with Emmanuel Sanders is a sure-handed wide receiver that's going to help Josh Allen. Because if you think about Josh Allen, when you see him, he's a down the field thrower, right? Typically goes north to south when he's throwing. Isn't the type of Tom Brady where he's running slants for him short. But Emmanuel Sanders, I feel like, is going to give him that outlet where he doesn't have to continually go deep every time. As a team last year, they did well with only 11 interceptions. If you compare that to opponent stats, that was over 15 interceptions. So I like the Bills going forward. In my opinion, they are now, not including the Patriots, that they are the favorite to win the division, or the division. Yes, the AFC East, that is.
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting that you added that about Emmanuel Sanders. I actually didn't think about that when I was kind of writing up my synopsis, and I think I'll get into it in a second why I actually really like what you said. But yeah, as you mentioned, kind of they were intent this offseason to keep the main core defensive talent, which they ended up doing and succeeding, kind of like what the Bucs did, which we'll get to in a couple weeks. They made tremendous aerial plays last year. Obviously, Josh Allen, 37 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, first team All-Pro, and I believe he was top 5 in pretty much most aerial categories. So like you mentioned, north-south thrower, gets a lot of yards. They were 13-3 last year, won the division, lost to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. And this is where, which I thought was interesting. They didn't do much in a sense of addressing their rushing attack. Matt Breida currently third on the depth chart, but I see that changing potentially by week 3. I think he could be a good supplement to Devin Singletary. And it's not, and I guess that's what's confusing to me. But I guess to your point with Emmanuel Sanders, maybe this was their way of kind of doing what the Patriots did 6 or 7 years ago, where they punted run and just used a lot of their slot guys and tight ends as kind of a rushing attack. So kind of bringing the attack shorter just so they can go longer. So,
sure.
I mean, it's a different way to kind of look at it, but I still think having a better rushing attack does help develop the pass. I mean, I'm not trying to be like super old school thinking that. But I mean, honestly, Singletary is actually not a non-effective running back. It's evident by his 4.4 yards per carry. So, yeah. I mean, they just don't go to it.
Right. No, and I couldn't agree more. I think that, and even using some of the running backs as kind of like pass catchers from the backfield, I think they're trying to do that as well. Josh Allen is probably the best running back on their team right now.
And that too.
So I don't know. And one thing I wanted to try to do from you, Sammy, is let's try and do this. So for each team that we go through and do a review, let's pick one player one player. If we had to pick one player from that team to be on our fantasy team, who would it be? So let me ask you, the Buffalo Bills, of all their players, who would be that one player that you would want on their fantasy team? You get one player.
Stephon Diggs.
Okay. For me, it would be Josh Allen.
All right.
Mm.
Awesome. Let's see. What else do I got here? But yeah, and another thing to kind of point out, which you had mentioned a little bit. So according to Pro Football Focus, in 2020, the Bills' defensive rush efficiency was ranked 25th. So that's really interesting that you mentioned that they were a little bit overrated, considering people just look at how their pass defense was. Because again, their pass defense was ranked 10th in efficiency. So that's really good. But then their rushing attack, they were very, very susceptible to the run. So they did add, a couple players there. Granted, those are rookie guys. And I think most of the defensive ends that they got are actually more pass rushers than they are run stoppers. So they didn't really care about the rushing defense. And we're going to get to it in a second. But I think that's something that the Patriots in the division can definitely exploit.
Absolutely. Here's hoping they actually do, but we'll see.
Yeah. So pretty much concluding it out, Bills, like you said, Bills are the team to beat in the AFC East. They have some weaknesses, but they solidified all their key players this offseason and pretty much looking to run it back. I think 14-3 or 15-2 could be possible, only because I mentioned it like that, because they have the 23rd ranked strength of schedule in the NFL.
Oh, wow. Really? That's interesting for a team that just came off the conference championship game, but sure, I guess whatever. If that was the Patriots, they'd have like the number one strength of schedule. That's
What do you think? What do you think? Well, how many wins? How many losses?
No, I think you're spot on there. I mean, I think 15-2 is a little high. I don't think they're that great. I don't think they're that great of a team. I would probably put them closer around 13. I would say 13-4 would be my high for them.
Okay.
10-7 would be my low.
Oh wow. Okay. I think they're a little better than 10-7, but yeah, no, I
respect that. That's my low. That's I have a high and a low.
That's because we want the Patriots to win, so they got to lose 2 games there. So.
Oh yeah.
But all right, let's go to the next one on the list: the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
So key additions: Will Fuller, Jacoby Brissett, which is super interesting, Justin Coleman, and Adam Butler. So pretty much the Dolphins took a similar approach to Buffalo. I have a soft spot for the Dolphins, not for the team, but for Brian Flores, as you probably do too. They did a similar approach, and they wanted to solidify the stout passing defense. They ranked 4th in pass defense efficiency last year. So that's actually really interesting, considering that they were 11-5 team. And yeah, I actually didn't know that their pass defense was that good last year. So that's actually an interesting stat. But the difference between them and Buffalo is their offense. Like they were in the bottom 3rd in pretty much every offensive category, including passing touchdowns and rushing yards.
Yeah.
So they're going to struggle to move the ball.
No, I'm with you. I like the Dolphins, like as a team. I'm happy with what they put together here. And obviously the Jacoby Brissett thing is to back up Tua Tagovailoa. You know what I mean? Tua. Is to back up Tua. Because if you look at the production that Ryan Fitzpatrick had behind Tua last year, of course, Tua had a very injury-prone first season in the NFL. So Ryan Fitzpatrick actually did get a lot of run, when he was given the opportunity. But Fitzpatrick passed for over 2,000 yards, had an average completion rate of an average completion yardage of 7.8 with a average rating of 95.6, which is actually pretty good backup quarterback, and gave them stability even when Tua was out. Now, Tua had a pretty good campaign himself as a rookie. Passed for about 1,800 yards with an 87.1 rating. Not bad, considering he had been coming off injury pretty much the whole season, it felt like. Until he was finally shut down at the end of the season. So I think bringing in somebody like Jacoby Brissett, who is an established backup in the league, I think we can say that. Would you say that Jacoby Brissett is a upper echelon backup quarterback? I mean, and then in a pinch could be a starter kind of thing. For me, that's how I felt about him. And then he proved that in the season that he played in Indianapolis, where he pretty much was the starter. He started 15 games, had a QB rating of under about 52, which is not great, but it's good enough to replace Tua for 2 or 3 games. So I think that's what they bring Brissett in there for. The offense has never been the problem with Miami. I think it's more the defense, right? So they got Myles Gaskin at running back, which I think is enough to do what they need to do there in the run game. But again, the questions for me are this defense. Who the hell are they going to stop? That Adam Butler definitely solves some of that, but not all of it. So we'll definitely see moving forward whether their defense up front is going to be able to stop anybody's run game. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I think their pass defense is pretty decent, but they're not really rushing anybody. They're not forcing any bad passes, and you can pretty much run on them all you want.
I'm sorry, Sam, but you also got to put that into context too, right? So
right.
The Miami Dolphins were pretty much like getting destroyed every game. Right. So last season, so it's not like people are passing around on. So their passing numbers might have been lower than usual. So that could have effect on whether or not why they're ranked 4th in pass defense efficiency. Take those numbers too seriously when I look at. For me, it's the eye test when it comes to defense, personally. But
yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm. And I guess this is where I kind of disagree with you with their offense. And it's not like I don't think that they have the potential of a pretty decent offense. There's so many question marks there, right? Like Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, and Jalen Waddle. Don't get me wrong; those are names that I'd love on the Patriots, and you'd probably like on the Patriots. Those are really good receivers, but yeah. Will Fuller has not played a full season, and he's always just you're so afraid every time he catches a ball that he's going to break something, right? And it's super unfortunate.
He hasn't
Devontae Parker has been one of those guys that you just don't know what kind of consistency you get, because in the first half you get a guy that's in fantasy borderline unstartable. But then in the second half, you have him on your bench because you don't trust him. Then he pops for 17. Then you keep him on your bench. He's like, oh, that was fake. Then he pops for 18. And then by the time you use him, it's too late. And then Jalen Waddle's a rookie. I mean, I don't know. You don't know what you're going to get there, right? Like, that's one of those.
I do.
What are you going to get with him?
You're getting an incredible receiver who's going to eventually catch.
I agree, right? I mean, yes, of course. That's what we all think. But it's still a question mark because he's a rookie. We don't have any historical data in the NFL to prove that. But the talent is all there, right? Like the talent is all there.
And I think the Parker thing is more that, he's consistently not getting the same quarterback year after year after year, right? I mean, how many times has this guy had a different quarterback? And right. To your point, I mean, he still had a fairly decent season last year. He had 800 yards from scrimmage last year. Average.
And I think a lot of that was in the second half of the season, though. to your point.
And maybe so, because I don't have everything blanketed out between when he did it and when he didn't. But his catch percentage was the second highest of his career, right? 61%, which is still really good and really up there. It means he's catching over 60% of the balls that are thrown to him. That's pretty damn good. And I think his targets are going to go up this year. With having Waddle there, I think Waddle can only help Parker this year.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, if I had to pick one player from this team to have on fantasy, it's going to be Myles Gaskin.
Hot take.
Yeah, I just think I liked what I saw from him last year. I think he's going to double that up this year. I like Gaskin a lot this year.
Yeah, how many yards do you think he's going to get this year?
I think he rushes for over 1,000 for sure, and then catches for over 200.
Okay. No, that's perfectly possible. I mean, especially and honestly, I think it's perfectly possible with either of the quarterbacks. But I think especially if you got Brissett, if Brissett ends up starting, right? Like then he's definitely checking down.
I don't think it's a question whether Tua or Brissett starts. Brissett is there to be his backup, and I think it's starting number one. That's it.
I mean, we'll see, but I'm erring on the side of caution. I think Brissett's going to be the starter eventually.
Really? Wow. Okay. Well, eventually, yes, because Tua's hurt.
Yeah,
Tua's not hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to happen, but I mean, I like Tua as a player, but so I guess concluding it out, many question marks. In my opinion, there's many question marks on the major offensive positions, just with consistency concerns, not really with talent. We know the talent is there.
Sure.
And I think it's going to leave the team kind of frustrated. I think the team's going to have the games where they look freaking tremendous, like you're pointing out, but then there's going to be games where just nothing is working for them.
Right.
And I think Brian Flores is setting up that defense and heading in the right direction for it. And I think 10-7, 9-8 isn't out of the realm of possibility for them this year.
10-7 is a little high. You think they're going to be a winning team?
They won 11 last year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe at 10-7 sounds about right. I'll stick with you there. 10-7, 9-8 sounds about right.
All right.
It may be 8-9. I think the division got better, whereas necessarily they really didn't. But
and I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah, I
everybody
think so.
else got better. They didn't. I mean, except the Jets. But yeah, everybody else got better. But
No, I think the Jets got a little bit better, but yeah, I don't think they got like good. I think they got better.
So so you said the player that you would want is
Myles Gaskin.
Okay, Myles Gaskin. For me, I think the player I would want is Jalen Waddle.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm
Definitely
just going
a good flyer.
in this draft right now.
Yeah, it's fine. Do you?
All right. So next up on the docket, the New England Patriots, our boys. So obviously key additions, and we'll get to the news about this in a second. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Matthew Judon, Kyle Van Noy, Ted Karras, Jalen Mills, and Trent Brown. So the Patriots added a ton of depth at so many positions that they definitely needed, along with the current players that played on that abysmal team last year that still ended up winning 7 games. I just want everybody to know that abysmal team still won 7 games, and they added all this.
Mm-hmm.
So they addressed the needs on the defensive end, and then they added depth at O-line. And then they upgraded the offensive arsenal for Cam Newton and Josh McDaniels. I mean, McDaniels now has just so many things that he can do on this offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like we kind of went in depth yesterday or last week. But I feel like this team is definitely playoff bound. And last year it felt like a punt, even though everybody says Bill doesn't punt. This they were trying as hard as they could. It felt like a punt. I don't think Mac Jones is going to be starting anytime soon. I know that reports from camp have been that he has kind of underwhelmed so far at camp, and Cam Newton has impressed. So I think with a full year of Cam, and honestly, I've always been Cam fan, because I've wanted Cam to succeed in New England. When they drafted Mac Jones, it really pissed me off. But I think Cam Newton is going to be the starter game 1. I think he's going to be the starter for the whole season. And until Mac Jones does something incredible, I don't see him coming anywhere near the starting quarterback position.
All right, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the only question mark we have right now is what Cam Newton are we going to get, and hopefully it's a much better Cam Newton considering, he had a really shortened camp last year, got COVID, injuries. The team had literally no talent on it or a bunch of young guys. The defense stepped up, played well out of what anybody thought that defense could ever play. Then you add all these veterans to the team, guys that are proven. And I personally think the rest of the division has weakness in rush defense, and I think that's something that the Patriots are strong at, and is the rushing attack, and they proved that last year. But now that they have the talent at pass catcher, it just makes the team a little more diverse than it was last year. So it's a little bit more dangerous for the Dolphins and the Bills. So that's why I don't think it's going to be a runaway for the Bills, even though they are pretty damn freaking good.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement there on the Bills are good, but I just don't know what the peak is for this Patriots team yet. The peak for me, I think I said last week, is they jokingly they can go 14-3 or even better 15-2. I think this could be a team that could go 13-4. Yeah, I think they could go 13-4. I think they could challenge for the division. I really do. But that's my homerism. I don't want to say too much on it. So, but yeah, 13-4 is my pick.
All right, yeah. I don't think, and I'm with you on this. I don't think Mac Jones is going to ever see the light of day where they're playing a game unless it's by week 12 or 13, and playoffs is not anywhere close to being anywhere there. And even then, we rarely see Bill punt, so it's not like that's going to happen unless it's a blowout game. So remember, the Patriots were 7-9 last season with a really shaky offensive talent and just tons of injuries. And I think that with this talent and everything that they added, it's not like you just add one guy and then you try to add wins to it. Like they added 12 key players to key spots. Yeah.
And they got their guys on defense.
That's got to be 4 wins, right? Like that's got to be 4 more wins. So I think 11 games is 100% possible.
Easy. Yep.
And the strength of schedule, they're 19th. So it's not too bad.
No,
much better last year. I think they were top 10 in strength of schedule.
Now, who's your guy? Who's your guy on this team?
Guy on my team, I'm going to say Jonnu Smith.
Yeah. I was also going to go Jonnu Smith, so Jonnu Smith it is.
We know Cam Newton loves tight ends, man.
Yeah. So does Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, that's true.
And Bill Belichick, for that matter.
Yeah. So last but not least, well, actually last
Definitely.
and least.
These
And
guys
perfect
suck.
timing. A-Rod's in the chat right now, so he'll hear us try to come up and grasp at straws at what to talk about the New York Jets.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York Jets. So key additions, obviously head coach Adam Saleh, Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, Tevin Coleman, Keelan Cole, and Vinny Curry. Some pretty decent names there that they added.
Yeah. Sure.
The Jets are obviously coming off a year to pretty much forget. Adam Gase ran that team to the ground. It sucked. It was just something. I watched a couple games with my boy A-Rod, and it was just so even when they beat the Browns, he was like, this is awful.
So bad. So bad.
But I think Adam Saleh is going to bring some consistency to that defense. I think he's going to change the culture because obviously Adam Gase went in there and just destroyed the culture that was built up there in New York. And I think now this is the Zach Wilson show. I know A-Rod is really hard on Zach Wilson, but I think it's the Zach Wilson show. And he has, honestly, in my opinion, I think this is not even a lose-lose for him. As long as, and I think Adam Saleh is going to do a great job with coaching him up and putting him in the right scenarios to show off his skill. But, you're a number 2 overall pick. I think he's going to show something. At least by midseason, we'll see something.
Yeah. What can I really say about this team? I mean, so pretty much this whole team is new, right? So if you look at, their offense wise. So let's look at Zach Wilson, right, and his college stats here, because we don't really have anything else to go on. So last year he was a junior at Brigham Young. He passed for over 3,700 yards, with TDs, 33 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, which is
how many games?
Remarkable stats. 12 games. So the year before, his highest touchdowns in the season before that was 12, and all of a sudden he just busted out for 3. He really did come on the scene, out of nowhere. But if you look at Sam Darnold's stats in college, he passed for about 4,000 yards and had 26 touchdowns in a better conference. So, I don't know what they see in Zach Wilson. I didn't really see it. Are you confident that Zach Wilson is going to be the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years for the Jets?
Confident is a strong word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's how I feel.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to grasp at straws here, and I'm just looking at the situation that he got brought into. Zero expectations. So anything he does, as long as he understands that the expectations are not that high for him right now, anything that he flashes is going to look very good for him. That's my opinion.
No, I think he sucks. And I mean, let's be honest. The guy went to Brigham Young. BYU has some good quarterbacks in the past. Okay, so but I don't like to go through that historical. This college, typically produces good quarterbacks. I don't really buy into that. I can only buy into what I've seen, and I don't like when our quarterback just has one good season of production and then ends up being catapulted into this, literally the second quarterback taken. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Zach Wilson. And again, reports from camp are he isn't doing very well. But I think that's a trend with these rookies so far. I think that we can expect him to have a pretty subpar season this first season, especially with the weapons that he's looking at. Good luck to Jets fans. You guys are in for it for the next, I'd say, like 5 years of just crap. Because I don't even see a way out of this, Sammy. I don't see. Do you see any path for them to get better from here, other than just breaking it all down, building it back up from nothing?
No, and I think what we're going to start seeing with the Jets is they're going to start building the way they used to, which is stout defense, and then lose games, be 4 or 5 win team for probably 3 to 4 years, and maybe hit on a average quarterback, and then they'll make a playoff push randomly one year because the chips fell in their direction.
It's crazy. You would never think that Jets fans would be longing for the days of Chad Pennington and Mark Sanchez, Right. So, but those are honestly the best quarterbacks they've had in the past years. Yeah, in the recent history. Can you name a good quarterback that they've had in recent history?
Those are the 2 names that I bring up.
Jeez, that's tough. That is tough. All right, who on this team is your fantasy pick?
Oh God. Oh.
I'll go first. For me, it's Sam Ficken.
Okay.
Their kicker.
Okay. I'll go Corey Davis.
Okay. Why is
there's really nothing else I like there.
Oh, it's true. Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're right, Kyle. They didn't have Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't consider him a Jets quarterback because he was only there for a year, but I feel you.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, pretty much the Jets are a long way away from competing in the division, let alone in the AFC or even in football. But honestly, I think this team has the potential to win maybe 4 to 5 games, and most of it will probably be maybe towards the end of the season as teams start to sit and as Zach Wilson kind of gets his feet under him in the NFL. But as far as it's concerned right now, he's the number 1 on the depth chart. And I thought, in my opinion, when I saw that, I was like, ooh, you got to throw something else in there. Like you should have brought somebody else in there.
Yeah, they really should have. And it's not like they didn't have opportunities. There's been people out there. Shit, I would have made a play for Jameis if I was.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
For at least, jeez. So I'm with you. You should really say 4-win team this year. I think that's spot on. I think they're gonna be the worst team in football.
I can agree with that. But I do like Adam Saleh, and I wish him all the best. I hope that defense kind of comes into its own, based on what he's doing there. But all right, moving right along. We're making some great time here. So we're halfway through, and we're halfway through the podcast. Perfect. So the AFC North, alphabetical order, not in any, ranking order or record order, just alphabetical. So let's start it off. The Baltimore Ravens. Key additions: Sammy Watkins at wide receiver and Kevin Zeitler at right guard. Was kind of like I was reading that over the weekend, and I'm just like, that's it. It just seemed really underwhelming, right? Like
this is a good team last year. In my opinion, I think this is a good team last year. They're bringing back a lot of people. So let's look at it. So first of all, the quarterback had over 1,000 yards rushing last year. Let's not forget that. In my opinion, what this team needs is a running back. Now, Mark Ingram only played 11 games for them, which isn't great. But maybe if they can get him to play a full season, that might help. But they didn't have a running back besides Lamar Jackson, and like Buffalo in the division we spoke before in the East, Lamar Jackson's their best running back, right?
Yeah.
Now, did they do anything to address that running back position this year? Not that I know of.
No.
So
just seemed like they stayed content at that running back position, which I thought, if you look at, let me see if I can pull it up right here. Their depth chart of the running back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Those are the 2 running backs they got. Those guys combined for 1,500 yards. Then you got Lamar Jackson, 1,000 yards. Just with those three guys, that's 2,500 total yards. They had rushing.
And I just want to say, Kurt in the chat saying J.K. Dobbins, bro, like J.K. Dobbins is good. Like, get the hell out of here, dude.
He had 800 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's not
on a
good.
team that only runs the ball.
That's literally all they do is run the ball, right? Yeah. I mean, don't get me started. Lamar Jackson's the best running back on that team. I mean, Gus Edwards was okay. J.K. Dobbins, sure, whatever. He's fine, but he's not.
Right. That's the perfect way to put it. He's fine.
He's fine. And also the wide receiver position, not great either. As I was looking at it, Marquise Brown's good, but we got Mark Andrews, who's much needed there as a tight end, and typically is a top tight end in fantasy. But after those two, it really goes downhill quick. I mean, shoot. I mean, the Miles Boykin, their third best receiver last year was Willie Snead with 432 yards. They had no wide receiver over 1,000 yards and no wide receiver with over 75 catches. So the offense, again, is the issue here for me. And it's strange because I feel like the offense has so much talent with Lamar Jackson, but I feel like
that's kind of where it begins and ends.
Right. I feel like we're seeing a Zion in New Orleans situation where you have this great talent, but you have no talent around him. So I'm worried about the Baltimore Ravens for that reason. The defense, the Baltimore Ravens could have 5 plumbers out there, and I would trust that defense to be good.
Because it's purple?
Yeah. Sure. No, just good, man.
It's always good. Uniform. That's why. That's what I mean.
Yeah. It's just Ravens uniform out there, and it'll be good. But seriously, the offense is what worries me. The offense is why the reason why they didn't make a deeper run in the playoffs.
100%.
So I feel like they needed to address that, and based on your additions list, they really didn't. So we'll see. I know I say this a lot. We'll see what happens, but in my opinion, I like this team for, of course they're going to make the playoffs, right? This team is the favorite to probably win the division. They're definitely going to make the playoffs, but there is a small part of me that thinks, could they fall off a cliff if Lamar Jackson doesn't get the help he needs? So I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go 13-4 for the Ravens.
Wow. All right. But yeah, the Ravens are who they are. They got a flashy quarterback, fun and exciting playmaking ability, as we all know. But just in the lights of big games, it just seems like when defense scheme properly against Lamar Jackson and limit what he's able to do. And it's not that he doesn't have the arm talent. I just don't think he has the wide receiver talent or the pass catcher talent around him to kind of work with within his skills. And yeah, like you mentioned, I don't think Sammy Watkins was really the answer here. I would have loved to see them make a play for, maybe a Kenny Golladay if they had, the money for it, or even Emmanuel Sanders would have been perfect. Honestly, a slot guy, a veteran guy, somebody that Lamar Jackson could have fully trusted, and their playoff team. So Sanders could have been a great play there. Obviously, Sanders wanted to go to another situation, which is perfectly fine. But I mean, I think if the Ravens put an offer on the table, I mean, those are 2 great offers for Emmanuel Sanders.
I agree. Absolutely.
And honestly, though, if healthy, I think Watkins does have all the tools to be a solid 1 or 2. But I mean, if history is any tell of the type of player he is, and it's just if he becomes like, and I think that's what's going to end up happening, as he becomes a more focal point of that offense, which because of the lack of talent around, he's going to eventually become, because you got Marquise Brown is obviously the Hollywood Brown. He's going on time. They're going to need a guy in the intermediate passing game, and it's going to be Watkins. And I think that's where you're going to come up with Watkins day-to-day.
Well, if you look at Watkins, he hasn't played a full season since 2015 or since 2014. So, Watkins is a great player when he's actually out there, but he's just not out there enough. And I think that's the biggest issue. Last year, he played in 10 games last year. And not great, especially with a longer season this season. When he did play, he performed well. I mean, if you look at it, so in the 10 games he did play, he had 421 yards. That's 42 yards per game with a 67.3% catch percentage. So still good. He's still got skills, But let's see what happens as far as him being able to stay on the field, which I think we both agree here. We don't think he will.
Yeah. And yeah, let me just comment on what Average Kurt said, that they made a push to get Ty. I'm not going to say that he's washed. I mean, Kyle, I mean, Ty might be a little washed, but that's the same player. Like Marquise Brown and T.Y. Hilton are the same guy. Like one is just younger. So, I mean, you're not really adding. I mean, yeah, you're adding wide receiver depth, but you're just adding to they don't even throw the ball down the field. They were last in pass yards and pass attempts. Like you need some intermediate passing game first in order for you to go long. So
right.
I think without a passing attack, the offense is just badly crutched in games, and it showed in the Buffalo game. Like they couldn't do anything. The Bills just created a pocket, didn't allow them to run outside, and they couldn't make any plays.
Yeah, and it goes to what you're saying, goes a little bit more to what's going on with Lamar Jackson. So do you think Lamar Jackson can be a good quarterback in this league? I do. I think he can make all the throws. I think, I just feel like he bails himself out with his feet too much. But I mean, that's to be seen. Now, who's your person? I think we're gonna have the same person. You could have one person on his team on your fantasy team. Who is it?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Yep. Okay.
But yeah, like you mentioned, they play serious defense. They were ranked 5th and 3rd in defensive pass efficiency and rush efficiency, top 8 in both pass yards and rush yards allowed as a team. And then to conclude it off, the man named Lamar Jackson is an MVP type caliber player, just super exciting, super electric. You always want to tune in and see what he's about to do. And I think with him alone, and it's crazy to say this, him alone can will this team to 11 or 12 wins just by himself. You add the defense to it, and I think, to your point, maybe 12 to 13. But they just don't pass enough to make a deeper push in the playoffs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to get the same point as last year, and that's it. That's their ceiling.
Yeah,
with the current construction of the roster.
I'm absolutely with you, yeah.
All right, moving on. In alphabetical order, like I said, or actually, maybe they could get second in the AFC North, but the Cincinnati Bengals. So some key additions here. Trey Hendrickson at defensive end, Chidobe Awuzie at cornerback, Mike Hilton at quarterback, and Larry Ogunjobi at defensive tackle. And I think, honestly, for me, how this team performs is going to rely heavily on the two Joes, and that is Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. What do you think?
I mean, you missed their best addition this offseason. That's LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase.
I was going to get to that, but yeah.
So that's their biggest thing. That's the biggest pickup they had this season. I think this is my sneaky team to win the division. If you had to pick a long shot, this is my long shot team.
Your hot take, right? This is your hot take.
Pay attention, everybody. All right, so I don't know if it's necessarily a hot take, but I still think the Rams are going to win the division. But if I had to pick a team, if you had to ask me for a long shot, I'd like the Cincinnati Bengals, mainly because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon, I think, is a good running back. Their defense is solid. If you look at the score, the season before Joe Burrow got hurt, it's like a tale of two seasons, right? They're in every game. Every game's coming down to the final 2 minutes. They're playing quality teams. They played the Browns. They played the Ravens. They played the Colts. They played the Browns again. So they were doing well until he eventually got hurt. And let's not forget, this team beat a very good Tennessee Titans team early in the season as well. So, Joe Burrow is only going to be better. The only thing that scares me about him is he took a big hit. He took a big hit in the, with tearing his ACL. And typically when that happens to a quarterback, it takes a while for them to gain that confidence back on their blind side, right? So we'll see what happens. Joe Burrow started 10 games last season, threw for 2,700 yards, 13 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Those are impressive numbers for a rookie. His QBR was around 56.2, which is not bad. And his sack percentage was around 7.3%. So hopefully he can take down those sacks a little bit more, and be a little bit more effective on deep balls with Jamar Chase. But I like him, and I like this team's offense moving forward. Defense, I think can be solid as well. I think they're fine on defense. They're not going to, blow anybody's blow anybody away with their defense, but it's the offense for me. And if the offense is good, I think that I think that they can be in the running to win the division. And this is my long shot to win if I had to pick one.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Joe Mixon was on his way to a decent season. He racked up 428 yards in 5 games before suffering a foot injury in week 6. And obviously part of those 428 yards, he was kind of banged up in and out of the lineup. And then you mentioned Jamar Chase, but then you forgot to also mention the other 2 wide receivers that he's coming in to complement, which I think is important to your point. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are steady hands who almost amassed 2,000 yards receiving with inconsistent quarterback play. So obviously Burrow out the last 6 games, and those guys still almost got 1,000 yards apiece. Now you're adding Jamar Chase and another amazing talent at wide receiver. And yeah, I mean, Burrow should be on his way to a pretty good season. And I think Mixon won't have to run as much. I mean, I think they should still, give him 18 to 22 touches a game. So to kind of mix it up. But yeah, it doesn't leave them with a crutch that Mixon has to kind of carry the load. And yeah, to your point, on defense, even though they lost Carl Lawson, they added Trey Hendrickson, I think is his name. Yeah. Trey Hendrickson, who had 13.5 sacks last season. They were ranked 25th in pass and rush defense last season. So obviously adding a pretty good defensive tackle or defensive end and a defensive tackle. They added to that. They added cornerback and safety depth. So that could help with their defense. And a little bit, like you said, not a defense you're going to write home about, but consistent enough to have them be in games, which they were for the first half of the season last year. Yeah, the team has really good players at key spots. Injuries obviously killed them last year. Losing your top 2 players on offense, obviously, that just is a recipe for disaster. But yeah, if they can all stay healthy, and if Jamar Chase is the player we all think he is, I think this team can be sneaky good. Yeah, so a long shot, like you said.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. I've been mentioning QBR and quarterback rating. Those are 2 different things. So quarterback rating is something completely different from QBR. QBR is ESPN's total quarterback rating system that is different from a quarterback rating. So just FYI, I just wanted to throw that out there because I know people were getting confused in the chat.
Yeah. So let's, in conclusion, in an always competitive division, it's tough to bet on the Bengals to improve from the 4 wins a year ago, but I think it's 100% possible. I think if Burrow can stay healthy, if he can shake off, which are a lot of these early reports that he does not look very good in camp. He's having a pretty rough camp. I think the Bengals are 6 to 8 wins. What do you think? And but to be fair, why I say 6 to 8, even though they do have this talent and a lot of young guys here, they have the 6th toughest strength of schedule.
The Bengals do?
Yeah.
All right. So who's the one person you're taking from this team?
Joe Mixon.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go Jamar Chase.
All right. Well, how many wins did you say?
I think they can. I think they're going to be around 6 wins.
6? Nice. All right.
If they win the division, they're going to have 15 wins.
All right. Moving right along. We're making great time. The Cleveland Browns. So a pretty good team already. Some key additions. They added John Johnson at strong safety, Takaris McKinley at defensive end, Troy Hill at cornerback, Anthony Walker at linebacker, and Malik Jackson at defensive tackle. It was very clear this free agency that the Browns needed to hone in on that defense, and they did exactly that.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns are our friend Average Kurt's favorite to win the division, as he's made abundantly clear in the chat over and over again.
And on our Instagram.
Right. I mean, let's be honest here. They're the Browns. They're not going to win anything. I'll be surprised if they win a playoff game. From what I saw last year, do you feel like this team got better or worse? Stay the same. How do you feel, Sammy?
Honestly, I think they stayed the same. I thought that defense wasn't bad. I thought that defense was pretty decent. I mean, they won games by rushing and they stopped teams from scoring, and that's how they were able to get 11 wins.
And didn't they lose Garrett for a period of time last year as well?
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to get him back this year. They're going to get solid quarterback play, hopefully again from Baker Mayfield. We'll see. Last year he had 26 touchdowns to a total of 8 interceptions, which is not bad. It's actually pretty good. His completion percentage was still high. The thing is,
He didn't have to throw a lot though. He didn't have to throw a lot.
He didn't. He only had 486 attempts, which is not all that many, but he did throw for about 222 yards a game, which is not bad. But in this NFL, it's kind of low. Anything under 300 yards a game does feel like a little low, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least to me, it does. I like Baker Mayfield, though. I think this team will get as far as Baker Mayfield can take them. Now, the thing is, their offense is so good at running the ball as well. They got two really great running backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They were able to get Hunt, obviously, because he was, disgraced in leaving Kansas City. He's obviously not a great person, but we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to talk about his football. And in terms of rushing, he had 841 yards, and it's really a two-man attack there with him and Nick Chubb, who had over 1,000 yards last year. And they both can do it in the air as well as with their feet. Chubb had 150 yards receiving last year to Kareem Hunt's 304. So I like their backfield. Their wide receivers are still good with Odell Beckham Jr. there. Jarvis Landry as well. I think they have and Austin Hooper at tight end. Let's not forget about that. So they have a solid core. And Njoku, did he come back or did he go somewhere else?
Yeah, I think he is still on the roster from when I checked earlier today. So that was one thing I wanted to. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah.
And I think he is coming back. So, in terms from injury, I think he was the big surprise last season. Ended up getting injured,
right,
and missed time. So I like Njoku. I like their offense. Their defense is going to be the question mark for me. Again, this AFC North might be one of the better divisions in football. I didn't realize the same until we're starting to go down the list here and look at these teams. I'd like the Browns too, man. I really do. Now I do want to talk a little bit about the Odell Beckham Jr. saga here. Does he start the season as a Brown?
I think so. As far as I know right now. Caught me off guard here.
Well, no, there's no new information other than what's been coming out already.
Yeah,
I'm just curious because there's been so many rumors swirling around him every year after year, about him being moved. I think he plays the whole season out as a Brown, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have I think he's what they needed last year. People forget he missed the last 7 games last year.
Yeah, and he did. He only played 7 games last year, guys. So, I mean, that's something to really look at.
10 games, sorry.
Yeah, I know. But still, it's incredible to think that they did as well as they did, only with the team that they had. They won a wild card game last year, guys.
Yeah.
The freaking Browns won a wild card game. Yeah. But and then just fell short to the Kansas City Chiefs in a 12-6 game. But if you think they have Odell Beckham Jr. in that game, a 12-6, a 17-22 game, Odell Beckham Jr. probably makes a difference there. I mean, let's look at their offense. Their passing yards that game, 196 passing yards from Baker Mayfield. That definitely goes up. So I think the issue here is going to be, can this team stick together and stay out of their own way and out of their own heads?
Yeah, and to Panda Golf's point, who's OBJ again? I mean, what OBJ are we going to get? Are we going to get the OBJ that had the form in 2016, 2018 that had 1,000 yards receiving? Yeah, which would perfectly supplement, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, right? Like that. Right. That you have those two guys that are definitely solid running the ball, and then if OBJ can even, in my opinion, if you get an 85% Odell Beckham Jr., to your point, you're talking about a potentially totally different game with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, just having him alone on the field, and then Jarvis Landry's end of last season was incredible. So, I mean,
does this have the chance to be the best offense in football?
I absolutely think it does. Mm-hmm. Those guys both combined for 1,900 yards and 18 touchdowns. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
That's legit.
Kareem Hunt didn't really play all that much until the end of the season.
Yeah. And he still had 800 yards or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, and to your point on the defense. So they added the safety, John Johnson, who was really good with the Rams last year. He stopped a lot of those gaps, and that's what they brought him here for, was to be that blanket coverage, because the Browns allowed, to your point, the 5th most touchdowns last season with 34 passing touchdowns. I mean, I think they also allowed I think it's something like 10 40-plus yard touchdown or plays. So, I mean, yeah, that secondary, that back end of the secondary is really weak, and they did address that. They also added to that really stout defensive line to add more pressure.
Right.
So I think the defense got even better than what it was last year. And in my opinion, I think this is probably the definition, and you agree or disagree, it's like a definition of like a fringe team. They seem like such a fringy team that you don't know what it's going to be, like
It's
you
just
mentioned.
like, what are they going to hold together?
Huh?
It's like, yeah, are they going to hold it together? Like,
Right.
are they? I'm worried more about them mentally than I am about them physically.
Yeah. No, I can agree. I mean, a little bit of both, though. But yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah. So you have those running studs, Jarvis Landry. If we get 85% Odell Beckham Jr., I think this team can make a push for 12 to 13 wins. What do you think?
I think 13 for me. High end, honestly, high end's 14 wins. Low end, 11 wins.
And just to throw it out there,
Yeah.
compared to the other 3 teams in their division, they have the weakest strength of schedule at 9th. So
Okay.
everybody else is higher. Theirs is the lowest of that group. So.
And now, who's your fantasy player off this team?
I mean, Nick Chubb.
I was gonna say Nick Chubb as well.
Or Jarvis Landry. Those 2 guys. I mean,
Jarvis Landry over Beckham. Oof.
Yeah, sure hands, bro. If it's a PPR league, I'm taking Jarvis all day.
All right, sure.
All right. So I think this is the last one. Yes, last, and then this is definitely, but not least, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
So key additions. They didn't add a lot, but one key addition is obviously the Doak Campbell winner, Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Joe Haig at offensive line and BJ Finney at center.
Mhm.
So they kind of took a if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach to their team. They're another team that had a very, very good, very stout defense. I think they were top 5 in most defensive categories, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed. And then, yeah, they started last year 12-0 and then lost 4 in a row. And I think one of them was to the Jets as well. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is a streaky team last year. If you can call it 12 straight wins a streak.
I know.
I mean, I think this is, I don't know. I think last year was an anomaly, and I think this Pittsburgh Steelers team is going downhill. I don't believe in Ben Roethlisberger this season. I don't like. I'll be honest.
He looks slimmer. He looks.
I don't like this team. I've never liked this team. I don't like the ownership. I don't like the people on the roster. I don't like this team at all. Good for them. They had 4,000 yards passing as a team last year, 35 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions through the air. That led to 1,300 yards rushing with 12 touchdowns rushing. So I mean, they're always going to be good offensively. They had they had a great running back last year in James Conner, who played 13 games. And ran for 721 yards, which honestly is low for him. But he missed the beginning of the season. I believe he was holding out. Remember?
Yeah.
The impressive thing for me for the Steelers for me is the amount of wide receivers that they get later in the draft. So they just got this Chase Claypool kid. They of course had Juju Smith-Schuster last year, but it feels like they continue to get these young wide receivers that are incredible. I think Claypool and Schuster are going to be the focal points of the offense this year, and just look forward to hopefully them having a down year in the division. Like you said, this is a loaded division, and I think this is the 3rd best team in it.
Ooh, 3rd best team. Okay. Yeah. So to your point, 12-0 start. Then they went streaky and had a 4-game losing streak to go into the playoffs. And yeah, losing James Connors is a little bit of a blow to the offensive talent at running back, but then obviously you go into the draft and you add Najee Harris. That's a nice luxury. Juju decided to stay, and we'll see if he can return to his before TikTok dances form. And yeah, to your point, the team is, for some reason, man, they're just like a wide receiver factory. Like they get these guys third round later, and these guys just end up being just absolutely incredible. You got Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, and then Deontay Johnson snuck in with 800, 900 yards last year. Those three guys combined for 2,600 yards.
Yes,
the three of them. Like that's ridiculous. You could like take any of them and they'll be viable in fantasy as at least a flex player.
Absolutely.
And then that defense, nothing to really sniff at. I mean, I know you don't like them, but last year they ranked 3rd in yards conceded, 5th in passing touchdowns conceded, and they led the league in sacks with 56, which is that's pretty decent. That's pretty decent.
Good for
so
them.
They didn't really do anything else to kind of switch anything up. So I guess they were content with the 12-4. Added a running back. Obviously, they got great wide receivers. So I mean, to be fair though, they do have the hardest schedule in the league. So do you think a 12-win season is possible for them again?
No, I have them 10-7 next year.
Yeah. And I'm with you though. I think I love the talent around on that team. I don't like the team, but I do recognize the talent. I just don't like Ben Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't. I don't trust him. And I'll get into a crazy hot take later, but I don't. There's too much talent, and if he can return to some sort of decent form, I think this team will be very good. But I'm not banking on it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Who's the one fantasy player?
Man, I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go Claypool.
Oh, you're going Claypool? I can't decide between Deontay Johnson or Najee Harris, but I'll probably go Najee Harris.
Okay.
All right. So, Vic, little fun here. I don't know if you prepared for this part. So now that we did the AFC North and the AFC East, give me a couple hot takes, 1 or 2 or 3 or however many you want, a couple hot takes on what will happen in the AFC North and the AFC East. Could be anything from a player. It could be the team wins. It could be, a crazy playoff push. Throw it at me. Let's get roasted by our chat by saying some ridiculous stuff right now.
I don't have any hot takes. Really, honestly, the hottest take I had was that the Bengals would win the division, and that's a take.
The Bengals will what?
Will win the division.
Cool. And that's sure we have that twice on air so we can record it. So when they win the division, tell everybody.
That's something I totally believe in. I think that is, so if something crazy were to happen, the Bengals would win the division. I don't know, and then I don't know if this is as much as a hot take, but the New England Patriots are going to win the division.
I didn't really think it was a hot take, but yeah.
That's a hot take, right? That's just that's what I believe in. The Patriots will win the division. Let me think. I can't think of another one right off the top of my head.
Roast me. Ready for this one?
Yeah.
Cam Newton will have 35 total touchdowns this season and 4,000 passing yards. He had 20 total touchdowns last year.
The touchdowns, I'm not going to roast you as much for, because I think I do think they're going to score more, but the passing yards, I don't think they're going to have anywhere near that. I don't even know if he's going to pass for. So last year he passed for how many yards? He passed for let's see here. I think it was 2,600 yards. So yeah, 2,600 yards last year, and he played in 15 games. So he played in 15 games, passed for 2,600 yards, had nobody else to pass to. I don't know. The 4,000 yards is a little tough for me, but 35 touchdowns I can get behind.
Okay. Sammy Watkins has 1,100 receiving yards. What do you think about that one?
I don't. That one's not that bad. I think that's high. I think if Sammy Watkins has that many receiving yards, then the Baltimore Ravens have won the Super Bowl, because if you look at it last year in Kansas City, his career high, it was in Buffalo, and he had 1,047 yards. So 1,100. I think that's a tough ask. He's going to have to be there all season in order for him to achieve that.
Exactly. That's why it's a hot take. He's got to be there all season.
Yeah. That's not crazy though. Both of those are very achievable.
but they're definitely hot takes.
Yeah.
The third one I had, and this was just me, just because it went perfectly with what you said. Mason Rudolph is the starting Steelers quarterback by week 4, and he will lead the Steelers to the playoffs.
Okay, I like that.
That's hot. That one's hot. Might be ice cold, actually. But.
That's hot. You could be on freezing cold takes later, yeah.
But okay, last one, and I don't think this is anything that crazy. I think we kind of convinced ourselves earlier, but the Bengals win 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hot take.
Not a hot take. That's going to happen. It's facts.
You think it's going to happen. I'm not confident in that. But
I mean, I'm not super confident in it, but if I had to choose one, I would choose the Bengals. Out of all those hot takes that you just gave me, I would choose the Bengals winning 10 games absolutely as the one that's going to happen.
Okay. All right. So the moment everybody's been waiting for. Vic, you and I have to discuss something, and I think it's perfect that we're doing it on air so everybody can see. We can kind of give everybody transparency on this. The first annual Townie Sports Fantasy Football League. So I wanted to go over it real quick, and we can hopefully some people can chime in. You too, Vic, you can also convince me whether it's a bad idea or a good idea. So the first thing I wanted to go over, do you want it to be a PPR league or a standard league?
PPR.
PPR. All right.
That's what men play.
I love PPR. It's, as they say, it is the participation trophy award is a PPR league. So what do you think? 10 or 12 teams? I
think 10. Let's not put I don't know if we have 12. That would be big with us. Let's do 10.
10 for now. Okay. So here's what we'll do. We'll leave it to 10 for right now. If we do get more inquiries, we will look to open it up to 12.
No. Keep it exclusive. Exclusive. This is an exclusive.
Well, I mean, hey, man, we get like 80 people watching our stuff every week, so.
Yeah. 10 teams. 10 teams. 10 teams.
All right. Now, prizes for first and second place, or is it just first place?
Prize for first place. Second place gets toilet paper.
Second place gets toilet paper. All right, so there's no second place, no third place, nothing like that. Just first. Just so everybody knows, it's only first place winner will get an award. We will be talking more about that off air, and we will put it on our Townie Sports podcast on our Townie Sports Instagram page, and also give it to you as the draft gets closer. And then what do you think about this, Vic? One of our avid listeners, Kyle, came up with a cool idea that I thought was actually pretty interesting. So obviously, as we go through the Fantasy Football League, our team, because pretty much you and I are going to run a team together and everybody's going to face us. Right. So we'll get our team, and whoever plays against us, there will be a challenge each week that if we lose, we have to do something ridiculous on air.
I don't like that because I know
it's going to alternate. It's going to alternate. You get one week, I get the other week, and
define ridiculous. Like,
I don't know. The first thing I thought of was dump like a carton of milk on your head on air. You just.
Well, I'm not doing that, so that's gonna be your week.
That'll be me. That's fine, but.
All right, that's cool. That's fine. Sure, whatever. I guess.
I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. It gets us more views. We become viral. It makes it more fun for all the listeners. If you don't want to do any of them, I could do them all. Then
Kyle knows how much I hate this. But I'll do it. I'll do it for the show. I'll do it for the show.
This is what the fans want. This is what the fans want.
Sure.
All right, now we're going to decide on the draft, Vic. So with the league starts September 9th, I believe, is the first game of the season.
Right.
So obviously we have, hold on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 4 weeks before the league starts. Would you like to do the draft closer? I usually like to do it a little bit closer to the first game of the season. That way you kind of the injuries and all that stuff. So if you did, like, suppose we drafted tomorrow and then somebody tears their ACL, then boom, your team is done. So whereas if you drafted 3 weeks from now, well, you would have avoided that altogether, and now it makes it a little more fair.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I always like later, so I like 9/5.
9/5?
Labor Day, day before Labor Day. Yep.
Perfect.
Everybody's got that Monday off. Works out perfect.
Yeah. All right. So 9/5 will be. So remember, everybody, September 5th will be the draft. So make sure if you want in, you have that day off. You have that day marked down on your calendar. It's going to be fun. Vic and I will be live on air drafting with you guys, conversing with you guys. And I Are you cool with that, Vic? We'll draft on air live.
Yeah, it's fine. And we're getting asked if there's a buy-in. I don't believe there's going to be a buy-in, but there will be a prize for the first place team. Is that right, Sammy?
That's what I wanted it to do, and that's what I wanted to discuss with you as well. Do you want it to make it a buy-in, or do you want it to make it like kind of like a prize for our listeners? That way, it's kind of like an awards thing.
Yeah, I'm okay with it either way. You're the host. You tell me.
I want to do a little bit of both. I'll talk a little bit more with the people that are kind of exclusive to it. I want there to be a small buy-in, but there will be an extra added bonus that we will add for our listeners.
A small buy-in, and you get an added prize on top. So whoever gets the prize, Sean, is going to be a mystery until you win it, until the winner is announced at the end of the season. We will tell you a part of that prize, I think, Sammy, is that they will be coming on air to receive their prize.
Correct. They will be. On air, live. I will send you the Venmo on air as we're speaking to each other, because it'll be a great prize for everybody involved, and they get a little piece of the pie of being part of Townie Sports history.
But it's not only money. I'm gonna give you a physical gift as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that idea.
It might be a picture of me and Sammy framed. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could be, but probably not. But it might be.
It might be. I mean, it's not going to be that because we just said that. So,
but it's going to be a surprise.
All right. Yes, there will be 2 prizes for the first, or technically 3 prizes for the first place. A little bit of a prize, a little bit of extra funds, and you get to be live on air, and you get to host with us.
And we got another question coming. What if we get more people than we can handle? So here's the case. So if we get more people than we can handle, we're putting names in a hat, and we're going to be drawing names to be in a league. Which is going to be there's going to be 9 people that are going to be doing this league with us, and the 10th team is going to be a team run by Sammy and myself. So that's how this is going to work.
Yeah, and it made it easier this way. Instead of me and Vic taking up 2 different spots in the league, it just made sense for us to combine a team. That way we have more opportunities for listeners to be in the league.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Any other questions?
A lot of trash talk, and we could possibly have like trash talk days where we bring people on air. So
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna call every single one of you out every week.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna talk mad shit.
Yeah. And it will be a PPR league again.
And it is a PPR league.
Yes.
And it is not a 16 team right now. It is a 10 team league.
Got to be exclusive, baby.
Got to be exclusive. There goes all the Pats players. But all right, Vic, moving on. We'll keep answering your questions as they come in. We're going to move right along now. A little bit briefly before we sign off, MLB playoff race continues. The AL East battles are going on right now. Vic, are you worried about the Red Sox right now?
I am, and we had one to talk about it today, Sam. I'm going to be quick. We got Sale coming back, which is great. After how pessimistic I was in the beginning of the season, I'm just going to shut up and just hope for the best here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, this team is overachieving as it is, so I can't sit here and, grasp at straws and get mad at stupid things that they're saying. Special guest. Oh, yes, Vic. One more thing. We have a guest caller that wanted to ask us a question about some of the AFC North and the AFC East. Clark, can you play that? Our guest caller called in and wanted to ask Vic a question.
Is it Tom Brady?
You got to listen to it on the YouTube channel, Vic.
What's that? Just Kurt's song?
I don't know. He played a song. He didn't play the question.
So what was the question? Kurt, you're in the Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just say
we're back.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we go. So, okay.
Here,
I don't really know.
Play it. Let me play. Hold on.
Don't
can hear this.
replay it. Don't replay it. Please don't. For the love of God, please don't. I heard it already. So Kurt basically wants to know where I get off, picking the Cincinnati Bengals as the
play it for the audience though, so they know the reference.
Oh, tell them the ref. All right, go ahead.
It's funnier if I replay it. All right, everybody, this is our caller, Average Kirk Cooks, calling in asking Vic a question.
Win the division?
Hold on. There we go.
The Bengals are going to win the division? What kind of dope is Vic smoking? Because I want some. That has to be one of the worst takes I have ever heard this year. Has he been reading the reports coming out of training camp? Joe Burrow keeps getting knocked down during practice by the defense. The O-line can't protect the quarterback during training camp. And you got the Browns. You got the Ravens. You got the Steelers. Vic thinks the Cincinnati Bengals are going to beat all these teams and win the division. And they don't have an indoor practice facility. You can't win a Super Bowl if you don't have an indoor practice facility. I just want to know, Vic, where do you get off? Where are your facts? Where are your sources? What makes you think that the Bengals are going to win the division? I need answers.
All great questions there from one of our longest listeners. I have to say, Sammy, he brings up some great points, but that doesn't change my mind in thinking that I didn't really think that in the first place. I was asked for a hot take. I gave a hot take, and that's what I got there. Now, here's the thing, though. I actually believe in my this.
I feel like you've convinced yourself to pick.
I have convinced myself through this that we have done that the Bengals are going to win the division. And not out of spite, not out of nothing else, but only because Joe Burrow is the next coming of Tom Brady. That is all, sir. That is my knowledge. That is my source. That is my stats to back it up. Joe Burrow is having a fantastic season. He's adding Jamar Chase. He's getting Joe Mixon for a full season. This is going to be a different team than we saw last year. The Steelers, as we talk, Sammy, the Steelers have gone downhill. The Ravens have not done anything. Their only competition here is the Browns. And to be completely honest, I think that this team, that the Browns are going to implode mentally. So there you go. There's my hot take, Kurt. That's how I defend it. Take it or leave it.
I love how this turned into a hot take that transformed into an actual take that you're supporting. I love it. This is what I live for, Vic.
Yeah. I mean, this is what this whole preview of the division. Because here's the thing: is actually I took myself out of the Ravens, who really haven't done anything to get better, right? And honestly, I talked myself more into the Browns than anything else. I think the Browns, might be my favorite in all honesty, but for their biggest competition to me is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals.
Kyle says the Bengals are plus 2,100 to win the division. Put your money where your mouth is.
I already have, and also I don't bet on futures.
Show the receipts.
No. You don't. I don't bet on futures. Futures don't win me money.
I know. I'm just messing with you. But all right. That was that part. Let's wrap this up with the MLB a little bit. So you were saying about the Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both in the same spot where we're just kind of hoping things turn around. There's nothing really to be done. Kyle Schwarber still needs to come back. Chris Sale needs to come back. I'll reserve my judgment for when those two guys are back.
Yep, when they're all fully healthy. I mean, this is a little slump, 2-8 in the last 10. Pitching is underperforming, 4.28 ERA compared to their xFIP and FIP, which is 4.08 and 3.93. So just getting a little bit unlucky there with the pitching. I mean, they have not been good in the last 10 days. So there's that. And then on the other side of the country, the NL West, the Giants are still surprising everybody. They're 4 games up on the Dodgers and 7.5 up on the Padres, 7-3 in the last 10, and they're winners of the last 2. Any thoughts on that NL West battle going on over there? I'm completely shocked. I don't know about you.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm surprised that the Dodgers really loaded up here. I think the Dodgers will eventually make moves to come back, but we'll see. I like the NL West. It's probably my second favorite division after the AL East. Lots of good teams there, lots of good players.
Yeah, if you don't know, if you aren't watching up, those are the two divisions to really, really keep an eye on. Those are the closest divisions right now. All the other divisions seem like they're pretty much 1-2 guys are pretty much running away with it. Although Detroit's making a little bit of run in the Central, but sure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But all right, Vic, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, just I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. Look forward to our fantasy draft. As Ruckus was saying, I hope we get that kind of fandom that comes out and they want to have a 16-team league. At that point, I think we would talk about a 12-team league. I think at this point in our production, I think we can only handle and what you and I want to do with it. I know we want to make it very interactive with our show. I don't think 16 teams is going to be really something that we can do. But I think if what's the word for it? If the outcalling is for 12 teams, if there's that many people that want to join, then we might do 12 teams. But for now, we're sticking with 10.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 16. I don't think we're there yet. I think definitely 12 is on the table if we do get a really shower of really interested individuals that want to kind of interact with us and stuff like that. We will expand it up. But yeah, 10 is kind of where we're staying right now. So stay tuned for all of that. It'll be on our Townie Sports Instagram at Townie_sports. Like and follow. Go follow us over there. We'll give you more news on the fantasy sports. As well as next week, we'll talk more about it. And then as we start drawing hats, we will give you more information on how to contact us, on how you want to be in it. And then we will draw hats if we get more than 10. So suppose we get 11. Well, one person's going to be unfortunately out, but we will draw hats. We will draw out of a hat to make it fair for everybody, give everybody an opportunity for this first annual Fantasy Sports League.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Townie Sports. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in each week. We love you, and thank you for choosing us for your listening pleasure on all things sports. Just remember, we are live every Monday at 7 p.m. now. The reason why we're going to 7 p.m. on Mondays is so we can kind of, as soon as NFL starts, we can lead you right into Monday Night Football, so you can watch us for a little bit on your phone. Yeah. You can watch us on your phone instead of watching some of those schmucks on TV, because we're a lot cooler and probably a lot more fun than they are. As always, please like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the House of Fandom shows, home of sports analysis, pop culture, movies, and so much more. Do not forget to check out our Instagram page at Townie_sports for all updates on the show. We give you additional sports coverage on some other sports deals that are going on. And of course, amazing hot takes by Vic and myself. And if you guys want to interact more, ask us questions, don't be afraid to shoot us a little voice message on Instagram. We'll, if the questions are good, we'll air them live, just like we did with Average Kurt this week. Don't forget to tune in next week at 7. We'll be doing some more in-depth previews of the AFC and AFC South and the AFC West. And obviously there's some Super Bowl implications there, so that's going to be a pretty good one. And Vic, did you want to get into college football next week, or you want to wait a week on that one?
Well, let's wait a week. I think these previews take up quite a bit of time. I don't want to rush over. I would actually like just a college preview special. Ooh, something like that. All right,
that'll be fun. So we'll do a college preview special in about 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, also spread the news. House of Fandom has an official TikTok page. You can find additional content. Oh, just to let you guys know, Clark wrote TikTok page. You can find additional content from all House of Fandom and Townie Sports with exclusive interviews, live specials, little clips and funny things that we talk about on our show, as well as the House of Fandom shows, and all the live specials. And then finally, don't forget to tune in to House of Fandom this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The hosts review both Suicide Squad movies and why James Gunn version was better received, but will still be a financial disaster. I can't wait to hear about all of the mathematics involved with that. If you're not pulling out calculus, it doesn't count. You definitely don't want to miss the analysis before spending your hard-earned coin on Suicide Squad 2.
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Now, Sammy, since before we go, since this is the only platform that I have, I will say that I did see Suicide Squad 2, and I immensely enjoyed it. I thought it was an incredible film with a lot of. Encourage everybody to go see it that hasn't seen it.
Okay, so definitely I am gonna watch it now because I want next week. I want us to talk about what they talked about and then respond to what they talked about. This is a perfect opportunity to have a little cross-platform action. But yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody. Don't forget to check out that show on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Suicide Squad 2 and Why It's a Financial Disaster. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a good evening. I'm your host, Sammy, alongside the great Vic. We are Townie Sports. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mill. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly, but I ain't Lauren Hill. I'm a Beantown boy with a Trigger City mind state. Leaving hoes surprised like they going on a blind date. Had that ass spinning, best believe that booty gyrate. Come fresh to the game, so y'all lanes better migrate. Versatile cat, so I flow on the South Beat. Spit so hard I fuck around and hurt my teeth. My vision stays clear, why y'all looking cloudy? Yeah, I spit fire, but misses don't doubt me. Jumping hard on tracks, call me steroided rabbit. Consistently murder beats like a serial killer's habit. Drop his flow, so I took the game and stabbed it. Copy my style, but it's too hot for you to grab. I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
This is how we roll.
I got my shoes high, and my jeans low. I got my socks fitted, you know how I roll.
Well, it is as I take another pull from my Cohiba, overlooking green fields full of reefer. My suit stay let it soul on my cufflinks. Summer look to Jay-Z and Puffy. I ain't saying that I wanna be like them. I'm getting fat stacks while your paper so thin.